In the first paragraph of his remarks tonight, the president was talking terror. And despite concerns just today that Americans might have to evacuate from Yemen as rebels threaten a dangerous coup, or the horrifying images we've seen from ISIS as recently as this week, President Obama seemed at times to suggest that the war on terror is largely behind us, saying the shadow of the crisis has passed. Really? Mark Thiessen is a former presidential speechwriter and an American Enterprise Institute fellow, and Kirsten Powers is a Fox News political analyst and a columnist for USA Today. Mark's also a Fox News contributor. Mark, really?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Turn the page is a really, really good theme for your first State of the Union address. Your sixth State of the Union address, not so much. He's been in office for 6 years trying to turn the page. And he's been trying to turn the page on terrorism for 6 years, and terrorism isn't cooperating. I mean, this is, you know, he praised our troops as if it was VE Day and that we had won the war and everybody was coming home and we're going to have parades. ISIS is massacring children, beheading Americans. Al-Qaeda, which, by the way, he didn't mention once, as far as I could tell, the words Al-Qaeda. They just carried out a terrorist attack in Paris, Al-Qaeda in Yemen. Last State of the Union address, he held up Yemen as a great success story. Now Yemen is about to collapse, and Al-Qaeda is using that as a base to carry out attacks on France. So, you know, it's delusional to say that we're turning the page on terrorism when the terrorists are on the offensive across the world.
Kirsten, you know, he's talking about how the first time since 9/11 our combat mission in Afghanistan's over. 6 years ago, 180,000 American troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. Today, fewer than 15,000. But, of course, that doesn't mean that the war on terror is in any way over.
Yeah, I didn't hear him say the war on terror was over. I actually heard him say that we were continuing to hunt down the terrorists.
He said tonight we turn the page. The shadow of the crisis has passed.
But he did say that he's continuing to hunt down the terrorists as well. I mean, so if the war on terror was over, then I don't think we would still be.
But what is the shadow of the crisis has passed? It kind of feels like we're still in the middle of the crisis.
Really? I don't really feel the middle of the crisis. The middle of the crisis to me it was 9/11. I don't think we're in the same place that we were in 9/11. I mean, I don't.
Really? Did you hear Leon Panetta last weekend?
We have been, but people saying things isn't the same thing.
But he was the Secretary of Defense, so what he says we really listen to.
But so you really feel, Megan, right now that you are as fearful that we're going to be attacked with a massive attack like 9/11 as you were right after 9/11?
All I'm saying is, shadow of the crisis is over.
Actually, Kirsten, if you talk to the intelligence community,
that we have been for a long time since 9/11 fundamentally safe, and that doesn't mean that there isn't a
George
crisis
Bush was in the White House for most of those years. The question is whether we're safer today than we were when Barack Obama took over.
Obama's been in the White House for quite some time now.
And Leon Panetta is saying that we are about to face a serious wave of attacks that we need to be prepared for. Let me get Mark into the conversation because he was there under George Bush. Go ahead, Mark.
No, it's just, I mean, if you talk to the intelligence community, they will tell. If you talk to the intelligence community, they will tell you, and they've testified to this fact, that this is the most dangerous period we've had since the pre-9/11 period. I mean, the terrorists are ascendant across the world. In Yemen, the government is about to be toppled. They have a safe haven there. They've established a new caliphate in Iraq and Syria, which is a base from which they can attack us. We're withdrawing from Afghanistan, which is going to create a vacuum in Afghanistan, just like the one that Obama created in Iraq by withdrawing all of our troops. And he's actually, in this State of the Union address, praising those things. He's gloating about withdrawing our troops from Iraq, which is the very policy that created the rise of ISIS. So we are actually withdrawing from the world, and the terrorists are
ISIS, actually.
No, it didn't, Kirsten. Come on.
Oh, it absolutely. What are you even talking about?
Wait, let her make her point. Wait, let her make her point.
When Barack Obama came to office.
Hold on, go ahead.
You don't know. No, ISIS came, and this is an indisputable fact. ISIS rose out of the invasion of Iraq. They did not exist there before. That isn't even up for debate. I mean, the fact that you just dismissed that, there was no ISIS before we invaded Iraq.
Okay, let him respond. Go ahead, Mark.
The fact is that Al-Qaeda in Iraq was defeated during the surge by George W. Bush. Barack Obama inherited an Iraq that was completely where the enemy was defeated ideologically and militarily. The Iraqi people rose up with us to defeat Al-Qaeda. And he created a vacuum which allowed them to come in. He laid them rise in Syria and has created this mess that we're facing right now. And now he's not doing what needs to be done to defeat them.
Well, I don't think we resolved anything there whatsoever, but it was fun to talk to both of you.
Definitely not.
Great to see you both.
Okay.